Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth from Handi Quilter. Congratulations, you are the new owner of the new HQ Littlefoot quilting frame. This frame sets up at approximately 6 feet, so those quilters that don't have room for a 10 or a 12-foot quilting system and still want to quilt large quilts, this frame is for you. The machines that can be used on this frame system are the HQ 16 and 18 stand-up quilting machines. Let's go ahead and go through the parts that come with your quilting frame. We have a right and a left side arm bracket with pole clamps. We have the pole brackets, the end caps for the back pole, 4 L brackets, 4 leveling feet, 4 washers, 14 small screws, 20 large screws, the tools, a 4mm hex wrench, a 5mm hex wrench, and a leveling wrench, the right and the left sidearm, 4 upper leg pieces, 2 lower legs, the front and the rear pole. The longest is the rear pole of the two. The tabletop, and you can see the tabletop here with the tracks already installed. 1 large quilting clamp, 6 small quilting clamps, 3 large C-clamps, and 3 small C-clamps. So those are the parts. Now let's get started. Let's build our frame. Okay, I've taken all the stuff off of my tabletop. I've turned the tabletop upside down. So if I were to lift this up, you would see the tracks laying down against the table. So I want it upside down so I can start putting my legs on. So I'm going to take the legs, and I want the leg with the notch to be right on the outside. This is the end of my table. I want that notch to be down there. And also I want to be able to see this, and this faces the short side of the table, not this way where it's the long side. So I want it like this, and when you get these placed right, all of these notches will face inside. You need your 5mm hex wrench, and you need your 16 large screws. And so there's 4 holes, 2 on each side, that we'll start putting those in. And I'm just going to go kind of hand put those in a little bit, and then you'll tighten that up, each one of those. And we'll move this table to the end a little bit here. So if I just place all 4 of these screws in here, and then I'll take my hex wrench and tighten those up. The next step is to put the 2 lower legs in here. So we'll go ahead and do that. You can let that drop all the way down. Now this part, this long extension here, this is the front of your machine, or the frame. So we'll do the same thing on this side. Slowly let that drop down in there. This is the front of the frame. The next step is to put the 4 leveling feet in. So as I take this in, you can see as I hold this, this spins. We want to hold it, or screw this in here and use the post to screw it, because if you just screw this, nothing's going to happen. So go ahead and turn that, and you want to turn it down so that you have a 1/2 inch of thread showing. So we'll go ahead and put all 4 of those feet in. Next, we need to secure the lower leg and adjust the table height. So what we want to do is get another of the large screws with a washer, the little white plastic washers, put those together, and there are these 6 different holes here, and this is for different heights. And if I'm going to put this in an average height. And if I do that, I'm going to put it in the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, from down at the bottom. I'm going to move that up, put my screw in there, and this is a 5mm, so I still have my 5mm wrench, and go ahead and tighten that up. Now you'll notice that on this extension here there are 2 holes that you can choose to put that in. I chose the top hole, and be consistent and put that in the same hole as you go around. So depending on which hole you put it in, you may get a 38-inch or you may get a 40-inch. The other thing is to make sure that you have it either all the way at the top of that hole or at the bottom. So you just want to make sure that it's equal all the way around. So we'll go ahead and now put in all the other 3 screws. Get a friend to help you tip the table over on its legs, and now it's time to build the top. So the next thing you need to do is get the two of the 4 L brackets and loosen these 2 large screws right here, because we're going to put this L bracket right here. So we want to go ahead and take up these large screws, and you might ask, why didn't we do that in the first place? But we find that it's easier to build it, set it on its on its legs, and then put these in. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there, and we'll just go ahead and screw those back in. Okay, then we'll take this one and go and do it on the other side. Now it's time to install your sidearms. So you want to take your sidearms, and this is the left sidearm. You can tell this goes to the back. This is the front of your frame. So we want to, again, take out these 2 screws here. So we'll go ahead and take those out, put the sidearm, and then we'll replace the screws again. The thing we want to make sure of is we're going to put it in these 2 holes, the 2 top holes. So as I place my screw in there, and I can just turn that so it makes it a little easier, tighten that up a little bit, and then I can turn that up, put my next one in and match up the hole. This is with my 5mm hex wrench, and we can go ahead and tighten those up. Now I need to take my 4mm hex wrench and the small screw, and I want to place that in the top hole that will attach to that bracket. Now, I've left this a little loose because one thing you have to be careful with is if this bracket is not close enough, then the screw won't attach. And so this one, there's some space here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my 5mm and loosen these up just enough so that I can slide that bracket right against there. And then I can go ahead and tighten that up. And it's a slotted hole, so you have some adjustment there. And then we'll go ahead and put the last small screw in with the 4mm hex. And then go ahead and fully tighten these last 4 screws on both sides. Next, get your 2 sidearm brackets with pole clamps. You'll need 2 of the small screws for each side and your 4mm hex wrench. So the first thing we want to do is get one of the small screws, and I'm going to sit right down here, and there's 2 holes here, and we're going to screw these screws into these 2 holes there. So with my going to put that up through there, and then match it up with that screw and go ahead and screw that in. Then we'll take the next one, find the hole, and match that up, and go ahead and screw that in and tighten that up. Now let's go ahead and put the pole on. There's two holes here. This is for this 18-inch throat space, and this is for the 16-inch throat space. So I'm going to go ahead and put this for the 16-inch throat space. And there's a little button right there, and that's where you'll latch that into. And it snapped right into there. Okay, now we'll go ahead and move over to the right side. One thing I want you to be really careful about as you're attaching these pole clamps is to make sure that they get placed on the right side. So there is a right and left pole clamp. And to find out which is which, you want to make sure that the button that's on this pole clamp is on the inside of the frame. So this is on the inside here, and on your left side it's facing the inside. So if it isn't, this is the time that you want to change those. Take your screws out, change those, because it won't work if you don't do it. Now it's time to get your two pole brackets and your front pole. And we're going to go ahead and place one inside, matching up the hole with the button. Snap that in. Press that button in and snap that in. Now we're ready to put it on the front of the frame. Take the front pole assembly with the brackets in and place it into these poles here. And it's got your button there with your hole. You're going to match those up. Snap that in. And then we're going to go ahead and snap in the right side. The next thing you need is another L bracket for each side and 4 small hex screws. So go ahead and put those hex screws down. And this L bracket is going to fit right here. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4 screws of those small screws. Now this has been set up for a 16 machine, for a 16 throat space. If you set this up for an 18 throat space, then we would go ahead and release that button and slide that out here. And then you would put your screws in these holes, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of the screws will be screwed in from this side in to attach to the bracket. Now you'll need your 4mm hex wrench with the 4 small screws and your bracket. And I have started these 4 screws, and I didn't tighten any one of them real tight. So I wanted to put all 4 of them in, and now that I have them all in, I'm going to go ahead and tighten each one of the 4 screws. Now take your rear pole and the 2 end caps, and you want to put an end cap in the end of each one of those. Press them in tightly. Go ahead and then you can take that pole and place that right into the clip there and into the clip there, and you can kind of slide that down so that it's even. Now the next thing is, as your table came, you can see these tracks are not set. They're screwed in slightly, but they're not set. So to set those tracks, you want to take your carriage that's with your machine, place it on the tracks. Let's get this right. And you want your encoder on the back, your black encoder on the back, And what you want to do is you want to run your carriage along the tracks and level it, kind of straighten it out. And then there are three hex screws that you'll need your 4mm hex wrench. There are 3 screws, one in the center and one on each end. You'll need to, as you roll that along and get that level there, then go ahead and get under your table and you can tighten those on the front and then go to the back and tighten those. Now it's time to place the machine on the carriage. So get your machine, take this pole out so that you can place the machine on the carriage, then go ahead and thread the pole through the throat of the machine and place it back into the brackets. I hope you enjoy your new quilting system.